I'm Heather Evans, 32 years old. 3 weeks ago, at my father's retirement gala, he did something that cemented my decision to delete myself from his life's ledger permanently. Imagine it, a glittering ballroom in Fairfield's most exclusive country club. 200 guests draped in designer silks and tailored wool, champagne flowing like water. My father, Richard Evans, stood center stage, microphone in hand, parading his family for the crowd. When he got to me, he flashed that trademark smile, the one that looked warm to strangers, but felt like ground glass to me. And this, he announced, is my daughter, Heather. No degree, no ambition, just a permanent resident on the family dime. 200 people laughed. I didn't flinch. I didn't cry. I simply raised my glass, smiled, and said, "Cheers. This is the last time any of you will see me." Then I walked out, leaving a silence I can still feel in my bones. What happened next? That's the story I'm here to tell. But first, if you've ever been the ghost in your own family, hit that subscribe button. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Now, let me take you back 12 years, to the day my future was stolen. The Evans family of Fairfield, Connecticut. Upper middle class. Respectable. My father was CEO of a mid-sized logistics firm. We had the 6-bedroom colonial, the S-Class in the driveway, the club membership. From the outside, perfection. But my mother died when I was 8, cancer, fast and brutal. I barely remember her face, but I remember her hands, soft, always reaching for mine. 2 years later, my father remarried Linda. She brought Marcus, her son, 3 years my senior. Within months, they weren't just family. They were the only family. I became part of the furniture. Not abused, not like the stories you hear. Just invisible. Marcus got the praise for grades I earned. Marcus got the new car at 16. I got his hand-me-down. Marcus was the future. I was just there. My father never hit me. He never yelled. He just looked through me, like I was a window he was trying to see past. But one person saw me, my grandmother, Margaret Evans. Every Sunday she'd call. Ask about my classes, my dreams. "You remind me of myself at your age, Heather," she'd say. Underestimated. But I see you. When she died, she left me something. Something no one knew about. But I'm getting ahead of myself. In that house, I learned to be invisible. What I didn't know then was that invisibility would become my greatest weapon. The day my life was decided for me, I was 20. A sophomore at UConn, business major, 3.8 GPA. I had plans. Dreams. A scholarship application for a summer program in London sitting on my desk. My father called me home on a Wednesday. Family meeting. Those 2 words had never meant anything good. I found him in his study, mahogany desk, leather chair, walls lined with awards. Linda stood beside him, her hand on his shoulder, a picture of unity. "Heather," he began, not looking up from his papers. "We need to make sacrifices. Marcus has been accepted into Wharton's MBA program. An incredible opportunity." My heart rate didn't change. I knew where this was going. "We can't afford both tuitions," he continued. "So, we've decided you'll take a break from school. Marcus' career will benefit the whole family." Linda nodded, her voice dripping honey. "A girl doesn't need an MBA to be happy, Heather. You'll find a nice husband. That's what matters." I sat frozen. Not from surprise. I'd spent 12 years learning not to be surprised, but because some small, stupid part of me had still hoped. "You promised you'd support my education," I heard myself say. "You promised, Mom." My father's jaw tightened. "Circumstances change. When the company stabilizes, I'll make it up to you." He never did. Later, I learned through a cousin's slip that the money was there. They simply chose not to spend it on me. I didn't argue that day. I just nodded. But inside, I made a promise. This would be the last time anyone decided my worth. I moved to Boston with $2,000 and a suitcase. My first apartment was a 400-square-foot studio above a laundromat. The radiator clanked all night. I ate ramen and day-old bagels. But rock bottom has one advantage: you can't fall any further. I got a job as an admin assistant at a small logistics firm. The owner, Walter Barnes, saw something my family hadn't. You've got a brain, Heather, he told me. Use it. So I did. I stayed late. Learned every system. Took free online courses, MIT OpenCourseWare, supply chain management, operations. That became my university. I didn't call home. When a birthday card arrived with a 50 check from my father's secretary, I tore it up. For years later, I founded Meridian Consulting. Just me, a laptop, and a rented desk. I kept my name off everything public. No LinkedIn, no press. Why? Because I knew my family. If they knew I was succeeding, they'd find a way to take credit or tear it down. Some build empires to prove their worth. I built mine in silence because silence was the only language they'd ever taught me. 2 years ago, grandmother Margaret died. I flew to Connecticut for the funeral, sat in the back, watched my father eulogize a woman he'd spent years undermining. The irony was suffocating. 3 days later, I got a call from Eleanor Smith, a Boston estate lawyer. Miss Evans, I represent your grandmother's separate estate. She established a trust in your name 8 years ago. $800,000. With a letter. Eleanor read it to me. My dearest Heather, I know what they did. I know about the tuition, the promises. This money is yours. Use it to build the life they tried to steal. Remember, don't let anyone say you're not worthy. When they finally see your worth, it will be too late for them. I believe in you. Grandma Margaret. I used part of that money to expand Meridian. The rest I kept as insurance. That insurance policy came due 3 weeks ago. Today, Meridian has 15 employees and $4 million in annual revenue. We specialize in logistics optimization. And here's the irony that still makes me smile. One of our biggest clients is Evans Logistics, my father's company. They signed a 5-year contract 3 years ago, worth 40% of their operational savings. My father has no idea. All communications go through my team. All contracts are signed by my CFO. The few times Richard Evans has praised Meridian at industry events, he's been praising his own daughter. The daughter he told the world was worthless. 3 weeks ago, the invitation to his retirement party arrived. Gold embossed. I almost threw it away. But then I thought of Grandma Margaret. I RSVP'd yes. Not for reconciliation. I went because I knew, with absolute certainty, he would do something unforgivable. And when he did, I wanted to be there to say goodbye on my own terms. The country club hadn't changed. Same chandeliers, same pretentious valets. I wore a black Valentino dress, grandmother's pearl earrings, a Cartier watch. Everything I owned, I'd bought myself. That mattered more than the labels. Linda intercepted me at the entrance. Heather, you came, she said, her eyes scanning my outfit. Your father wasn't sure you'd have something appropriate to wear. I smiled. How thoughtful. Inside, I was seated at table 14, near the service entrance. Not the family table. I wasn't surprised. At the bar, I heard my father telling a shipping executive, Meridian Consulting has been transformative for us. Whoever runs that company is a genius. The man asked if he knew who was behind it. My father shrugged. Never met them. Don't care who they are as long as they deliver. I sipped my champagne to hide my smile. A text from my CFO lit my phone. Renewal docs from Evans Logistics arrived. They want another 5 years. Waiting on your decision. I typed back. I'll have an answer by week's end. At the bar, Aunt Susan cornered me. Heather, you look, well, still in Boston doing your little consulting thing. The way she said it made it sound like a hobby. Are you seeing anyone? Your father mentioned you're still single. 32, right? I realized then, my father had prepped them. Given them talking points. The family disappointment. Emotional difficulties. Mental health issues. I excused myself, a cold plan forming in my mind. On the terrace, Marcus found me. The prodigal daughter, he sneered. Dad's about to speak. No dramatic scenes, Heather. We all know you've always been jealous. I turned to him. Is that what you tell yourself? He laughed. Heard you started some company up there. Playing businesswoman. How long until it fails? 6 months? Then you'll come crawling back. I could have told him the truth then. But some revelations need the right stage. You know what, Marcus? You can believe whatever makes you feel better. But after tonight, you're going to wish you'd treated me differently. The lights dimmed. My father took the stage to thunderous applause. He thanked partners, employees, God. Then came the family. Linda, the saint. Marcus, the future. Then, the spotlight swung to me. And of course, my daughter, Heather, he said, his voice dripping with that practiced cruelty. No degree, no real career, just freeloading off the family. But hey, at least she showed up tonight. Maybe someday she'll find a rich husband to take care of her. The room erupted. Real laughter. The kind that comes from people who think they're in on a joke, not realizing they're watching cruelty. I stood. The room went silent. I picked up my champagne glass. My father's smile faltered. I raised the glass. Congratulations on your retirement, Dad. 40 years in business. Quite an achievement. You taught me a lot about hard work, about sacrifice, and exactly what kind of loyalty family can expect from you. I paused. The silence was absolute. So, here's to you. Cheers. This is the last time any of you will see me. I set the glass down, picked up my Hermes bag, and walked out. The click of my Louboutins on the hardwood was the only sound in the cavernous room. Behind me, silence. Complete. Devastating. Linda chased me into the parking lot. Heather. Stop. Do you have any idea what you've done? My father appeared, his face a thundercloud. Get back inside. Apologize. No, I said. The word hung between us. I'm telling you what to do, he hissed. You're telling me to go back in there and be your punchline? That I should smile while you tell 200 people I'm worthless? It was a joke. It was the truth of how you see me. And I'm done pretending. I opened my car door. If you leave now, you're done. No family, no support, nothing. I almost laughed. Dad, you cut me off 12 years ago. You just didn't have the courage to say it out loud. Tonight, I'm saying it for both of us. I drove away. The next morning, the texts started. Cousins, aunts, concerned about my breakdown. Then the call from James Crawford, a partner at my father's firm. Richard would like to mend fences. There's been some chatter about your connection to Meridian Consulting. They were fishing. I hung up. It was time to stop waiting. That week, in a boardroom in Connecticut, my father learned the truth. His CFO slid a folder across the table. Meridian hasn't responded to our renewal offer. If they walk, we lose 40% of our operational efficiency overnight. My father stared at the folder. Find out who owns that company. I want a name by Friday. Linda called that Thursday, her voice dripping false sweetness. Heather, sweetheart. Your father feels terrible about the party. Why don't you come home? We could have dinner. Clear the air. Does Dad want to apologize? I asked. A hesitation. He wants to move forward. So, no apology. I hung up. I met with Eleanor Smith. Your anonymity was always temporary, she said. The question is, how do you want this to unfold? She showed me the contract. A standard 30-day termination clause. No penalties. I met with Daniel, my CFO. They want to renew. 5 more years. They're nervous. Draft the termination letter, I said. 30-day notice. And draft a personal letter to my father. He deserves to know exactly who he's been depending on. I spent Sunday writing that letter. 7 drafts. The final version was simple. Dear Dad, you said I had no future. You told 200 people I was worthless. I want you to know, Meridian Consulting is mine. I built it. For 3 years, the daughter you dismissed has been the cornerstone of your business. I'm ending our contract not as revenge, but as a boundary. Grandma Margaret left me a trust fund you never knew about. She saw what you couldn't. Everything I have, I built myself. I don't need you to apologize. I just need you to know that I am not what you said I was. Don't contact me again. Heather Margaret Evans. Monday at 9 a.m., the package was delivered. By noon, I had 12 missed calls. I didn't answer. At 2 p.m., my assistant buzzed. Miss Evans, your family is in the lobby. They say it's urgent. I took a deep breath. Send them to conference room B. I chose that room deliberately. Glass walls. My employees could see, but not hear. Witnesses. My father, Linda, and Marcus stood by the window, looking out at my city. My territory. My father turned, his face gray. Heather. What is this? I took my seat at the head of the table. I assume you received my letter. Your letter. Marcus stepped forward. You can't just sit down, Marcus. My voice was quiet but firm. They sat. This is a misunderstanding, my father said. Meridian Consulting. You couldn't possibly. I did, I said, sliding a folder across the table. Incorporation papers. Tax filings. 3 years ago, you signed a contract with my company. You praised my work. You just didn't know you were praising me. Linda's face paled. But you don't have a degree, she whispered. You were just a 20-year-old told to sacrifice her future, I finished. I built something anyway. My father leaned forward, his composure cracking. I apologize for the party. Is that what you want? Now, can we talk about the contract? You're sorry because you need something. That's not an apology. Marcus slammed his palm on the table. Do you know what happens if you pull this contract? 20% of our workforce gone. This is sick. It's not revenge, I said, my voice level. It's a business decision. Your company chose to become dependent on mine. That's not my fault. Linda interjected, you could have told us. You could have said something. When? When you told me I didn't need an education. When you spread rumors about my mental health. I turned to my father. The worst part, Dad? I would have kept the contract. I wasn't planning this. But then you stood in front of 200 people and told them I was worthless. You chose this. Not me. Richard's jaw worked. For a moment, I thought I saw recognition in his eyes. Then it was gone. What do you want? He asked flatly. Nothing you can give me. There must be something. You're not listening. I don't want anything from you. I never did. I just want you to know the truth. Fine, he said, his voice turning to steel. If that's how you want to play this, you're done. No inheritance, nothing. I almost laughed. Dad, you cut me off at 20. What inheritance? I could make things very difficult for you. I have connections, lawyers, on what grounds? I leaned forward. Every document is legal. And my lawyer, Eleanor Smith, Grandma Margaret's lawyer, has already reviewed every angle. She knew you'd try something like this. Linda gasped. Margaret knew? She left you a trust? $800,000. I pulled out a photocopy. She knew exactly what kind of family she raised. That's why she protected me from it. Richard's face went from red to white. She had no right. She had every right. It was her money. I stood. This meeting is over. As they gathered themselves, I paused at the door. One more thing. If you contact me again, calls, texts, showing up here, I will release every record of how this family treated me. All of it is legal. All of it is backed up. And all of it would make a very interesting story for the business press. I opened the door. The receptionist will show you out. I watched them leave. 3 people who had spent my life making me feel small, now looking very small indeed. My father rose like an old man. Linda clutched her bag. Marcus stared at me with something new in his eyes, not contempt, but fear. This isn't over, he said. Yes, it is, I replied. I spent 12 years building a life you tried to convince me I couldn't have. I did it without you. And I'll continue to do it without you. Linda's lower lip trembled. Heather, please. We're family. We share blood, Linda. That's all we share. I'm not asking for an apology. I'm setting a boundary. Don't contact me again. My father stopped in front of me. You really hate us that much, he whispered. No, Dad. I don't hate you. That's what you don't understand. I just don't need you anymore. And that's something you'll have to learn to live with. I went back to my desk and got back to work. A week later, Uncle Robert called. My father's younger brother, the black sheep. Heather, I heard what happened. There's something you should know. Something I should have told you years ago. When your father said there was no money for your tuition, it was a lie. Your mother set up a fund for your education before she died. Richard drained it. Used it for Marcus MBA. That's why Grandma Margaret set up the trust. She couldn't get your mother's money back, but she could make sure Richard didn't steal anything else. The room tilted. Why are you telling me now? I asked. Because it's time the truth came out. All of it. 2 months after I terminated the contract, Evans Logistics announced a 20% workforce reduction. 70 people laid off before the holidays. The press blamed market conditions. Everyone in Connecticut knew the truth. My father's reputation crumbled. At industry dinners, he sat alone. The man who'd mocked his daughter was now the man whose daughter had been his backbone. I didn't feel triumphant. I just felt tired. Grandma Margaret was right. Sometimes, the truth is punishment enough. 6 months later, I sat in a therapist's office in Beacon Hill. Not because I was broken, but because I was finally ready to heal. Do you regret what you did? Dr. Patel asked. No, I said. I regret that it had to happen, but I don't regret protecting myself. My life is good. Meridian is thriving. I reconnected with Uncle Robert. He tells me stories about my mother, the real ones. She'd be proud, he says. I visit Grandma Margaret's grave every month. I did it, Grandma, I tell her. I didn't let them define me. Sometimes, if the wind is right, I can almost hear her reply, I knew you would, sweetheart. I always knew. So here's what I learned. Your worth isn't determined by a degree, or your family's opinion, or who believes in you. It's determined by what you build when no one is watching. By who you become when everyone counts you out. My father thought he was putting me in my place at that party. What he actually did was set me free. I don't hate my family. Hate is a chain. I'd rather spend that energy on people who deserve it. On work I believe in. On a life that's truly mine. Boundaries aren't about revenge. They're about protection. They're about saying, this is where my life begins and your damage ends. If you've ever been the family disappointment, the scapegoat, the invisible one, I see you. I've been you. And I promise you, there is life on the other side of walking away. Thank you for listening. You are not what they said you were. You never were. You are so much more. Until next time, this is Heather. And I'm finally free.